Here are the top takeaways from the 27th edition of the CMO Survey, which is based on a sample of 282 marketing leaders at for-profit U.S. companies, 94% of whom are VP level or higher. Marketer optimism for the U.S. economy rebounded beyond mid-pandemic levels and started to stabilize around pre-pandemic levels. Optimism hit 69.6 out of 100, up from the 66.3 value reported in February 2021, and up dramatically from the 50.9 at the height of COVID in June of 2020. Optimism regarding the U.S. economy's next quarter, that's Q3 2021, compared to last quarter, also showed a stark increase from June 2020, but a significant decrease from February 2021, with only 32% of marketers stating they were more optimistic. This decline in optimism regarding the next quarter aligns with the rise of the COVID-19 Delta variant and reapplication of pandemic protocols. Digital marketing transformations have continued alongside the global pandemic. A majority of companies report moving past the nascent phase, that's 31% were in this phase a year ago, compared to only 8.6% today, and into an emerging, integrated, or institutionalized phase. Marketers lead the digital transformations at 73% of companies. Marketing leadership is dependent on company size, with marketers playing a larger role at smaller companies, aligning with the idea that marketers at smaller companies are expected to wear more hats. Investment in all digital marketing activities increased since February 2021, with 77% of companies now investing in website optimization and 69% in digital media and search. These investments clearly signal a further push towards internet sales and digital marketing channels. At the same time, investment in online experimentation and A/B testing stayed relatively low at 46%. Improving the company's app was the weakest area of digital investment at 18%. Companies currently use artificial intelligence and machine learning only about 12% of the time. However, this is predicted to triple to almost 38% over the next 3 years. Overall marketing spending increased by 5.2% over the last year and is expected to grow next year by 13.4%. Digital marketing increased by 15.8% over the last year and is expected to grow, but at a slightly weaker rate at 14.7%. Consistent with these growth rates, 58% of marketing budgets are now spent on digital marketing activities. Traditional advertising spending projections increased for the first time in a decade, with expected growth at 1.4% for the next year. Marketing expenses as a percent of company revenue declined for the first time since 2017, but climbed as a percent of company budget. Given overall marketing budgets grew by 5.2% in the last year, evidence suggests that firm revenue climbed more in the same time frame, driving down marketing expenses as a percent of company revenue. Pressure to prove the impact of marketing efforts is increasing, with 59% of marketing leaders reporting increased pressure from CEOs and 45% from CFOs. The majority of marketers report they're able to show the short-term impact of marketing spend using quantitative tools, while the majority of marketers report that showing the long-term impact remains more of a qualitative assessment. Marketing leaders take the following actions when making the case for marketing spending. They align it with business priorities and strategies, set return expectations, and explain their hypothesis about impact. At the same time, they work to reduce non-marketing leaders' focus on short-term returns and the view that marketing is a cost, not an investment. While several marketing performance metrics have proven to be important when evaluating the impact of marketing actions, marketing leaders report that sales impact and customer engagement make up almost 50% of the evaluation. Consistent with this finding, sales revenue and digital performance are the marketing outcomes most consistently tracked. Metrics such as brand equity and customer lifetime value, on the other hand, are rarely tracked. In June 2020, marketers reported a 17.8% loss in sales revenue compared to the previous 12 months, likely due to the onset and progression of COVID-19. Approximately 1 year into the pandemic, in February 2021, marketers reported a revenue gain of about 0.3%, so essentially flat for the year. When asked this same question here in August 2021, however, companies reported massive revenue gains, 11.1% on average, showing significant recovery. A similar trend emerged for profits, with marketers reporting 14.7% loss in June of 2020, a 2.6% gain in February of 2021, and a 10.4% gain here in August of 2021. Marketing leaders overwhelmingly agree that having the right talent is the most important driver of growth. When pursuing growth, a wide variety of behaviors take place, but more than 70% of marketers agree that the following behaviors help. First, they must be able to effectively articulate how the growth opportunity will connect back to the company's position and strategy. Second, they need to use an integrated marketing team in which digital and non-digital groups work together. And third, they need to build a business case for the growth strategy. Marketing leaders were less likely to use these other strategies. First, using an integrated team in which marketing and finance experts work together. Second, examining other industries for growth inspiration. And third, moving their companies into adjacent digital opportunities. Both mobile and social media spend have increased during the pandemic, but have dropped below the historic high measured at its height in June of 2020. Marketers agree that mobile and social spend will continue to increase at an even faster pace over the next 1 to 5 years, reaching 34% of marketing budgets for mobile and 24% for social in the next 5 years. Although smartphone ownership continues to reach new heights, only 25% of companies report using an app. Of those using apps, the return on investment varies significantly. The majority of companies report that their app generates less than 5% of total revenues. B2C companies indicate the highest returns, reporting an average app contribution of 25% for B2C services companies and 14% for B2C product companies. The role of marketers has continued to evolve, with marketers taking on more responsibilities. With the pandemic forcing people indoors and increasing consumers' reliance on the internet, digital marketing was identified as the primary responsibility for marketers at 94.2% of companies, up from 86% in February of 2020. This increase pushed digital marketing above brand as the top responsibility for marketers in 2021. Across the board, marketers are doing more than ever, with significant increases in responsibility in areas such as marketing analytics, lead generation, market selection, and competitive intelligence. On a 7-point scale where 1 is never and 7 is all the time, marketing leaders are asked by their CEOs and/or CFOs to participate in board meetings at a rating of 4.9 and in the preparation for earnings calls at a rating of 3.6. These are encouraging results that indicate marketing leaders are getting a seat at the table. Marketing leaders are staying with their companies for more than 5 years on average. When restricting to smaller companies, both in terms of revenue and number of employees, this number increases 20%, with marketers at companies fewer than 50 employees staying on average 7.6 years. Consumer services and banking, finance, and insurance have the highest turnover, with marketers staying in their current roles for an average of just more than 3 years. Companies report an average increase of 10.6% of marketing spend on DEI in the last year, compared to 8.9% in February of 2021. Against that spending, companies have continued to improve several aspects of their marketing activities. Relative to a year ago, marketers report more changes to the DE&I of their training, segmentation and targeting, product service design, and their marketing partnerships. At the same time, companies have shown no progress since February 2021 towards institutionalization of formal DE&I reviews and evaluations of their marketing decisions. On average, companies are making minimal changes to their marketing strategies to reach a more diverse set of customers. Larger companies, both in terms of revenue and employees, and companies with more than 10% of sales over the internet report making the most changes. Almost a quarter of marketing leaders report that their companies are not changing their marketing strategies at all. Difficulty envisioning and assessing the value of DE&I related opportunities are reported to be the biggest barriers to bringing DE&I into the company's marketing strategy and decision-making. I hope these findings are useful in your work. Watch for articles and posts over the next few weeks, and I'll be back in touch in January 2022 for the 28th edition of the CMO Survey. If you have any comments or questions, please feel free to contact me directly. And if you know of other marketing leaders who would benefit from participating in the survey, please encourage them to sign up at cmosurvey.org. Thank you.